What's up guys, Chad here with Greenlight Shooting and welcome to this new video. Today we are talking about the top three or four best first handguns. Now I did a video on this a while ago, like 2014, and it got a ton of views, a ton of engagement. People really seem to enjoy it. So I thought I'd kind of remake it for 2018 with all the new things that have come out. There's a lot of great options out there. So before we dive in, I do want to mention I am at T&T Guns and Range in Murray, Utah. Absolutely one of my favorite ranges. The service is great here. The selection is fantastic. The actual ranges themselves are off the charts. So if you're local, make sure to check them out. Otherwise, their information is down in the video description below. And another thing I want to mention is the Give Rise hoodies are now in stock. Be sure to check those out. Premium fit, fantastic materials. They run a little bit longer than normal hoodies to help you conceal carry. They also have a hidden mag pouch inside your front pouch there to help you carry an extra mag. So awesome hoodies, 50 bucks plus free shipping. Check those out if you're interested. Now, let's get into it. As I mentioned, we're talking about the top 3 or 4 best first handguns. Now, when I say first handguns, like when I ask someone, what are you looking for in a first handgun? Usually they'll say they kind of want a jack of all trades, right? They want something that they can shoot at the range comfortably, they can use for home defense, but also something that they can conceal carry down the road if they choose to. And it's kind of hard to find a gun that'll fit all those options, but I'm going to do my best to give you some good options. Keep in mind though that, as you progress, you may want to go with a gun that's specific to each of those categories. But as I said, I'm going to do my best to give you some good options to start out with. So let's dive in. So to start out with, we are talking about the Smith & Wesson MMP Compact 2.0. Now, the MMP series has been around for a long time. It's a fantastic gun, just so many good features about it. The 2.0, they upgraded a lot of good stuff, and the Compact is actually a new addition to that line, and I'm absolutely stoked on it. So a couple things to point out. First off is I really like how they have an external safety option. Now, they make it with and without this safety, but for the beginner, for your first handgun, sometimes it's nice to have an external safety, something that actually requires your thumb to hit it off before the gun will fire. Just gives you an extra little bit of peace of mind. If you want to carry this in a holster or something like that, you can feel a little bit better about it knowing that safety is on. Or, if you're a little bit more advanced and don't need that, then they offer it without that. Moving our way down here, this grip, the ergonomics of MMPs are fantastic. They're one of the absolute best on the market, in my opinion. And one of the big reasons for that is what they call their palm swell, which is right here. It's a big rounded back to the gun, which fills the swell in your palm right here. So they have, I want to say like 3 different options that come with the gun. So bigger and smaller sizes than this. So yeah, any size hand, it'll help to fill that up. Gives you a good positive grip on the gun. I love it. There is stippling across the entire grip, even up to the front of the trigger here, which I love. It's not so aggressive that it's gonna hurt your hand over time or be digging into you, but it's enough that you're gonna, as I mentioned, get a really good positive grip on this gun every time you hold it. Moving down to the magazine, this one is chambered in 9mm, by the way. They do have different calibers. I think 9 is an awesome option as a first caliber to get used to. It's easy enough to shoot, but it still has a good amount of power for concealed carry and stuff like that. This mag will hold 15 rounds. I think that's a big deal because, if you're at the range shooting, you got a couple mags loaded, you don't have to stop and reload your mag every couple of rounds you shoot. The other thing is if you decide to conceal carry this or use it as home defense or whatever, you've got a lot of rounds to throw down range. So I think that's really important. Moving up here to the trigger, they have improved the trigger with the 2.0, and let me tell you, it's a pretty good improvement. This trigger, you can pull back to a very nice crisp wall, and once you pull past that wall, it's got a very clean break. And beyond that, on your reset, when you let the trigger out, there's a loud audible click when you hit your reset. So I love this trigger, first of all, because it's a good trigger, but beyond that, it's gonna help you learn your fundamentals as a shooter very, very well. You can get used to your double taps, hitting that reset, and not having to let all the way out and kind of slapping the trigger. So fantastic trigger to really learn on and grow with, and even as you grow and get more advanced, you're still going to respect this trigger. As you move up on the gun, right here, there is a tactical rail, so for home defense and stuff like that, if you want to use it for, a strobe or a light or whatever, you have that option. And then up top, for sights, we're just looking at the 3 white dots. Simple, easy to use, straightforward. Last thing I want to mention is cleaning this gun is very, very simple, taking it down. So if I drop this mag out, there's a takedown lever right here. So I just need to lock that slide back and push the takedown lever all the way down. and there we go. So we're completely disassembled. We're field stripped. You can take out the spring and the barrel there, and you're ready to go and clean it. So really, really easy to take care of. Putting it together is just the opposite. So lock that slide back, flip that down, and you're ready to go again. That is the MMP 2.0 Compact. By the way, compact size means that it's going to be a little bit shorter than, like, barrel size is like a 1/4 inch shorter, and the grip size is a little bit smaller than the full size. That's just going to help you conceal carry a little bit easier. But it's still long enough, like if you're at the range, it's going to be pretty comfortable to shoot still. It's just giving you that option to conceal carry. So that's why I'm saying this is kind of a jack of all trades gun. It's really a fantastic option for any skill level. I would be stoked on this gun, so I hope you guys are too. This one, MSRP right now is running you $569. Now that is MSRP. Depending on where you get it, when you get it, you can probably find it for quite a bit cheaper than that. I'm just gonna say the MSRP on these guns though, so you have sort of a baseline to work off of. Okay, that's the MMP 9 Compact 2.0. Let's move on. Next up, we are talking about the CZP-07. So this is a pretty fantastic gun. Again, it's in that compact size range, very similar to that last MMP gun, very similar to like Glock 19 size. So it's that kind of sweet realm for kind of jack of all trades. It's still going to be comfortable to shoot at the range. It's still going to be accurate, but it is small enough to concealed carry for the most part. So kind of the biggest feature that I want to talk about on this one is the fact that it's hammer fired and it's a double or single action gun. What that means is you have two different styles of pulling the trigger. Number one is this long, hard pull, which kind of acts as a safety in and of itself because nothing's going to accidentally pull this trigger all the way back, right? The other option is after you fired it once, everything's going to be in single action. So what that means is you have a really crisp, short trigger pull like that. Now, this also comes with a decocker, which acts as your safety. So once you load this up, right, so you load this magazine up, put it in the gun, you chamber around, now all of a sudden you're in single action. So if I just touch this trigger once it's pulled back, it's going to fire. So in order to bring this hammer forward, I can actually pull this lever down, and it's going to act as a decocker. So that decocked my hammer, which brings me back to that hard double action pull. So it's safe. But I don't have to do any additional steps to pull the trigger. If I pull this out and need to fire, I can just pull the trigger back, and it just needs all that force to pull it. Then once it does fire, you know, if this was loaded, that slide would rack back, my hammer's back, and my follow-up shots would all be that short single action pull. So it's kind of awesome that it gives you those two different styles of shooting. The magazine here does hold 15 rounds again. So as I mentioned, you're at the range, it gives you lots of rounds to practice with, self-defense, whatever. You have a lot of rounds to use. This one is chambered in 9mm. I'm going to keep it all 9mm just because, as I mentioned, I think that's a fantastic starting round. The grip does have a little bit of kind of stippling along the sides, kind of some interesting ridges along the back here. The grip, I'm going to say, isn't quite as good feeling as that M&P, but it's not bad either. I mean, it's fine, and it does come with a couple different adjustable back straps here for different sized hands. Their trigger pull, by the way, I believe it's called their Omega trigger with that double and single action pull. It's a good trigger, it's good to learn on. Once again, it does have the tactical rail here. If you want to, you know, throw on a light, throw on a strobe, anything like that, you can do that. Taking this thing down to clean is a little bit more difficult, but it's not bad. There's a line on the frame here and a line on the slide that you need to line up. Once those are lined up, you've got a pin here that'll just push through. This comes out, and then it'll come down, and it's the same thing from there as any other you know, this style gun. So that is the CZP-07. It's a fantastic option that once again kind of carries across all those different modes. MSRP on this one's $509, I want to say. Usually you'll find it kind of for that $480, $500 price range. Next up, we're talking about the HK VP9. Now HK is kind of well renowned for making really high quality stuff, and this one is no exception, but it does come in a little bit more affordable price range. I want to say MSRP is like $700-ish on this one. So it is pricier, but the ergonomics, just everything about this gun is absolutely high end. So check this out. The slide release here is it's kind of low profile. Everything about this gun is a little bit low profile. So the slide release here is low profile on this side. It also has one over here for ambidextrous, so you can hit it over here, you can hit it over here. Next up, down here's the mag release, which is kind of interesting. So the mag release, as opposed to being right here with your thumb, it's on the base of the trigger guard. And it takes some getting used to. You either kind of have to reach your thumb around to hit it, and you're hitting it down, by the way, or over here you can kind of get used to using like a middle finger or something like that to drop it. And it's odd at first, but once you get used to it, I kind of like it. It makes mag changes really, really fast. The biggest thing I love about this gun though is the grip. It's stupid how comfortable this thing is. It feels so good. So you've got these kind of finger bevels here where your fingers fit in. Even on the base of the trigger guard, it comes up to kind of just hug your finger. It's dope. On the back here, you've got that palm swell again that's kind of really coming out to fill up your entire palm. It does come with different options for adjusting the grip size itself. And then once again, you've got some nice stippling across the entirety of the grip. So very positive, good feeling grip across the board. I think this is truly probably the best ergonomics in any handgun in this price range. Mag-wise here, we are holding 15 rounds. 15 rounds is pretty stereotypical, as you've seen, for kind of this compact range of guns, but it's it's more than enough. Keeps you shooting a long time. You guys know the drill with that one. Next up is this trigger. So it does have a little bit of a safety here on the trigger. They call it their latch safety, I believe. So it just makes it so that something can't pull the trigger from the side. Like you see that little part that's sticking out? If something were to kind of reach in here and try and pull the trigger back without touching this first, trigger won't pull back. So, if you're in an old leather holster or something like that, or somehow something gets in your trigger guard, attempts to pull your trigger back, it's not going to actually be able to unless it's a finger coming all the way from the front of the trigger and pulling straight back on the trigger. So that's a nice little option, a nice little extra safety feature. One thing also with this latch is, Glocks have this, but Glocks, once you pull that back, you can really feel kind of the opening in the base trigger itself, and it tends to dig into your finger, at least my finger. I know it is for some people as well. This one, when you pull this latch back, the trigger is dead smooth. You're not getting any of that digging into your finger at all. Huge, huge plus. It'll keep you shooting all day long, practicing all day long. It's fantastic. As far as the trigger itself, it's got kind of a really short kind of take up once you hit that wall, and then a really clean break. As for the reset, you can kind of feel it. It's not going to be near as audible as kind of, that MMP 2.0, but you can definitely feel it. You can still definitely train on this one. The trigger pull is really, really short. So again, it's one of those that you're going to be able to grow with and really kind of appreciate in years to come. Next up on this rail here, this one is actually an extended rail. So there are some items you won't be able to get onto a compact size Picatinny rail. This one they've extended a little bit further so that you can get bigger options on here. If you want a real big Surefire light or something like that, you'll be able to mount it on there. Sights wise, I believe these are night sights. Yeah, all HK stuff usually comes with stock night sights, so they glow in the dark for home defense and stuff like that. Obviously, that's a huge thing. And one thing I want to point out, by the way, back here is they have a little bit of a, kind of like a little notch that sticks out here on the slide. That's just going to help you just pull back on the slide. So nice little touch. And then on the back here, when it's cocked, can you see that red dot there? So if I pull this trigger, that red dot's gone. That's going to act as a loaded chamber indicator. So if you want to look down while the gun's in your holster or whatever, make sure that you're loaded. You can immediately see that you're loaded, that you're ready to go. And yeah, one last thing is the takedown on this gun. So drop the mag, lock the slide back. Again, with that takedown lever, just pull straight down, and you're all the way there. So super simple, super easy to take care of. Just an overall really, really good gun, man. This is probably one of my favorite guns to shoot. It's a good gun. It's hard to say anything bad about H&K stuff in general, but the VP9 in its price range is absolutely one of the best out there. And again, it's one of the best out there for beginners to start out with. It's going to teach you all your fundamentals well, but as you grow and become an intermediate advanced shooter, you're still going to love this gun. As I mentioned, MSRP on it is something around 700 bucks. You can find it for a little bit cheaper, but expect to pay a little bit more for this quality of gun. And finally, for all the wheel gun lovers out there, I had to include a revolver. They're hard to deny. They're hard to say anything bad about because they're so simple, they're so easy to use. So today I'm including the Ruger SP101. This one's chambered in .357 Magnum, and that's what I'd recommend chambering in because you can also load it with .38 Specials, which is a little bit lighter round. round. You can practice with those, get used to them, and then work your way up to 357 and carry with 357 for a little bit extra power when you're, concealed carry, stuff like that. So anyways, the Ruger SP101, we've got 5 rounds in the cylinder here. You're just gonna push this button right here, push the cylinder out with your other hand, and you can see we've got 5 rounds. To empty those out when you're done, you just push this right here, it drops those out, load 5 more, shut this, and you're ready to go. This one's gonna act similar to that CZ in that it's double and single action. What that means is anytime I pull this trigger, it's gonna fire. So right now, even though the hammer's up, if I pull this trigger, it's a long, hard pull, which is acting as my safety, but you can see the cylinder's rotating, hammer's coming back, and it fires. Now, I can also, if I wanna be a little more accurate, I'm going for bullseyes or something like that, I can pull this hammer back, and you can see it brings my trigger all the way back to here. It's already rotated that cylinder, so when I pull the trigger, it just needs a touch, and I can be really accurate with those shots. So a really cool option. One thing to keep in mind with this, as opposed to the CZ, is whereas this isn't a semi-automatic, every single shot, if I don't pull this hammer back at all, every single shot is double action. So you're not gonna get that hard first pull, and then every shot after that's gonna be single action, easy pull. Everything's double action unless you physically pull this hammer back each time. Yeah, so other than that, the barrel is 2 1/4 inches, which is really short, but I went with that style so that you can still conceal carry this if you want to in the future. Longer barrels are gonna be a little bit easier to shoot, but this is a solid steel frame. The biggest reason I went with that is because it's gonna help to take up some of that recoil. It's a little bit heavier gun, so you get those real light kind of air weight revolvers. They look great, they sound great, and then once you fire them, they kick like crazy because they're so light. There's nothing to take up that power. So this being solid steel is gonna help you kind of shoot a little bit easier. It's gonna help you get used to it a little bit better and not be so afraid of that snappy recoil. So yeah, there's not too much to talk about. This one, I believe MSRP is $719. Pretty pricey, but once again, you can find it for a decent amount cheaper if you kind of shop around. So anyways, the Ruger SP101 chambered in 357 is probably my best first revolver option for you, for kind of jack of all trades anyways. So anyways, that's gonna do it for our top 4 best handguns video. I think there was a lot of good options for you in there, man. I think any of those options you're gonna be happy with, you're gonna be able to grow with, years down the line, you're still gonna be proud of, they're still gonna be usable. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be kind of chiming in and letting other people know what they think is the best options out there. It's a good community out here, so please leave your feedback down in the comments below. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. If it helped you out, please hit that thumbs up button. That really does help me out a bunch. Share the video if you think it can help some other people out. Subscribe to the channel. We got a lot more good stuff coming. And yeah, we'll see you next time on Greenlight Shooting.